Today we're gonna the interpersonal communication. A part of interpersonal communication is non-verbal communication skill. We're gonna learn the non-verbal communication skills. So, what is a learning objective? This lecture to explain why nonverbal communication is an important area of study, and identify and describe 8 nonverbal communication code. We're gonna learn 2 things, okay? So you can identify the importance of you can explain identifying the importance of nonverbal communication and understanding nonverbal communication code. Okay. Nonverbal communication also affects the quality of your interpersonal relationship. Interpreting others' unspoken message and appropriately expressing your own feelings through nonverbal communication are key components of being other-oriented. To help you become more skilled at both expressing and interpreting nonverbal message, we will discuss why nonverbal communication is important in establishing interpersonal relationship. Okay? So, we're gonna learn identifying the importance of nonverbal communication. Where you know that you heard that where you go, there you are. Where you go, there you are. Where you go, there you are is the title of a popular book about Zen meditation. Wherever you go, nonverbal communication is there. Nonverbal communication is an ever-present form of human expression. If you allow, chances are that people are making inference about you based on your nonverbal behavior. Okay? If you spend a lot of time on Facebook or text messaging, you may think nonverbal messages aren't really important as you make connections with others. But research has found that you provide many nonverbal messages in the Instagram photos and YouTube videos you post and other more subtle nonverbal cues in the way you express yourself in your online and text message. Nonverbal messages are the primary way we communicate our feelings and attitude. You know that, you understand that, right? Nonverbal communication is a primary source of relationship cues. Psychologist Albert Morabian concluded that as little as 7% of an emotional meaning of a message is communicated through explicit verbal channels. The most significant source of emotional communication is the face. According to Mahavian's study, it channels as much as 55% of our meaning. Vocal cues such as volume, pitch, and intensity communicate another 38% of our emotional meaning. In all, we communicate approximately 93% of the emotional meaning of our message non-verbally. Wow, amazing, right? So, researchers are continuing to find new ways to measure the impact and power of nonverbal message as the communication of emotion. Nonverbal message usually nonverbal messages are usually more believable than verbal message. Nonverbal messages are usually more believable than verbal message. You know that, yeah. Actions speak louder than words. Actions speak louder than words. Nonverbal messages are more difficult to fake. One research team concluded that people from the United States and Canada use the following cues, listed in order from most least important, to help them discern when a person is lying. The greater time lag in response to a question, reduce eye contact, increased shift in posture, unfilled pause, less smiling, slow speech, higher pitch in voice, more described pronunciation and articulation of words. Because it is difficult to manipulate an array of nonverbal cues, a skilled, other-oriented observer can see when a person's true feelings leak out. Social psychologists Paul Ekman and Wallach Friesen have identified the face, hand, and feet as key source of nonverbal cue. Do you agree? Even if you become expert at masking and manipulating your face, you may first signal lack of interest or boredom with the other persons by finger wiggling or toe wiggling, or you may do the pen and pencil. If you reading a book, you read a book, when you become emotionally aroused, the pupils of your pupils of your eyes dilate, and you may bushy, sweat, or change breathing patterns. Lie detector, lie detector rely on the unconscious clues. A photograph measures a person's heart and breathing rate, as well as electrical resonance of the skin. To determine whether he or she is giving truthful verbal response. So, non-verbal messages work with the verbal message to create meaning. One more time. Non-verbal messages work with the verbal message to create meaning. Non-verbal cue help us message verbal message. Especially our non-verbal cue can substitute for verbal message, as well as repeat, contradict, or regulate what we say. Okay? An extended thumb signal that the hitchhiker would like a ride. A circle formed by the thumb and index finger can either signal that everything is okay or convey an absence message. When someone asks, which way did he go? You can silently point to the back door. In this instance, you are substituting non-verbal cues for a verbal message. Okay. We also use non-verbal cues to regulate our participation in verbal exchanges. In most informal conversation, it is not appropriate or necessary to signal your desire to speak by raising your hand, but somehow you able to signal to others when you like to speak, when would you like not speak, not talk. How does this happen? You use eye contact, raise eyebrow, open mouth, or perhaps a subtle signal, raise index finger to signal that you would like to make a point. If your colleagues do not see these signals, especially the eye contact, they may think you are not interested in talking. non-verbal cue. Non-verbal cues bluster the emotional meaning of the verbal message. Our unspoken cues accent and complement verbal message to increase or decrease the emotional impact of what we say. Stimulus and complementary verbal and non-verbal message can also help to color the emotion we express or the attitude we convey. The legs of a hue while you tell your son hug the hug what size the length of a hug while you tell your son are proud of him. Provide additional information about the intensity of your pride. The fondness of your handshake when you're great a job interviewer can confirm your verbal claim, then you are eager for employment. Non-verbal messages help people respond and adapt to others. You sense that your best friend is upset, even though she doesn't tell you she's angry. You sense her mood by observing her grimacing facial expression and the lack of direct eye contact with you. To help lighten the mood, you tell a joke. Many times every day you read nonverbal cue of others, even before they utter a word, to gain a clue about what to say or how to react. Interpreting others' nonverbal messages help us appropriately adapt our communication as we interact with them. The interaction adaptation theory. Interaction adaptation theory describes how people adapt to the communication behavior of others. The theory suggests that we respond not only to what people to say, but also to their nonverbal expression to help us navigate through our interpersonal conversation each day. If, for example, your friends lean forward to tell a story, you may lean forward to listen, or if during the meeting you sit with the folded arms, unconscious of what you're hearing, you may look around the conference table and find others with similarly folded arms, as if we were part of an intricate dance When we communicate, we relate to others by responding to their movements, eye contact, gestures, and other nonverbal cues. Another thing, interactor synchrony. Interactor synchrony. As a interactional synchrony is the process of mimicking or mirroring someone's communication behavior. Sometimes we may find ourselves consciously gesturing in sync with someone's verbal pattern, right? At other times, you may not be aware that when your friend folds her arms while talking with you, you also fold your arms across your chest in a similar way. It's a mirroring of its nonverbal behavior by communication patterns. Okay. Nonverbal messages play a major role in interpersonal relationships. As you learned in first lecture, you remember that because of the ubiquitous nature of nonverbal communication, you cannot not communicate. You cannot not communicate. Psychologist Raymond Birdwhistell suggests that as much as 65% of social or relational meaning in message is based on nonverbal communication. Of course, the meaning that others interpret from your behavior may not be the one you intended, and the inferences they draw based on nonverbal information may be right or wrong. Nonverbal expressions of support also are important when providing comforting message to others during time of stress and anxiety. Communication researchers Susan John and Laura Guerrero found that being non-verbally expressive and supportive is important in helping people cope with stress. Providing empathy, supportive facial expression, and verbal cue, hugs, and positive touch helps to reduce stress and enhance a person's overall well-being. You've heard the directive don't drink and drive. The result of one study suggests you could add don't drink and date. You may not be at your non-verbal best when intoxicated. Researchers found that when under influence of alcohol, you are more likely to express agitation, anxiety, and negatively toward others. In general, drinkers were less pro-relational and less positive during conversation. In addition, when intoxicated, you are likely to smile less and have a less animated facial expression. Long married couples spend less time verbalizing their feelings and emotions to each other than they did when they were first dating. It's learn how to interpret the other's subtle nonverbal cues. The researchers who made the observation also found that the more satisfied a person was with his or her marriage, the more accurately he or she was able to interpret the nonverbal emotional expression of the partner. The ability to express an emotion was not found to be related to the quality of a marriage, but the ability to accurately interpret an emotional expression was better in marriage that were more satisfying to the couple. In addition, a happier married spouse was less likely to assume that a negative emotional expression was specifically directed toward him or her. If your spouse is silent during dinner, you may know that her day was a tough one day, and you should give her a wide berth. And if when you put on your new Kelly green pants, your husband grimaces as he asks, "New pants?" You may understand that he does not love them. In fact, all of us more likely to use nonverbal cue to convey negative messages than to explicitly announce our dislike of something or someone. People also use nonverbal cues to signal changes in the level of satisfaction with a relationship. Okay. You know the turning point. A turning point occurs when our relationship becomes closer or when the relationship may be cooling and less intimate because of something someone said or did. Harsh vocal cues, not surprisingly, were indicated of negative judgment of what may be happening in the relationship. In contrast, increased touching predicted a more positive relation, no turning point. Increased eye contact also corresponded with a positive change how a relationship was perceived, as this research suggests. You don't have to say it. You know, a turning point, specific event or interaction associated with a positive or a negative change in a relationship. Okay, understanding nonverbal communication code. Body movement and posture. Body movement and posture. You know, we looked the categories of nonverbal information that researchers have studied. Movement and gestures, eye contact, facial expressions, verbal cues, use of space, territory, touch, personal appearance. Although we will concentrate on the cause that fall within these categories in mainstream Western culture. We will also look at code for other cultures and subcultures. Okay. Body movement and posture. Kinesics is a study of human movement and gesture. Francis Bacon once noted, as the tongue speaketh to the ear, so the hand speaketh to the eye. Okay. People have long recognized that movement and gestures provide valuable information to others. Various scholars and researchers have proposed paradigm for analyzing and coding these movements and gestures. Just as grammarians have codified spoken or written languages. One paradigm identifies 4 states of a courtship behavior. Stage 1, courtship readiness. When you are initially attracted to someone, you may suck in your stomach, tense your muscles, and stand up straight. That's stage 1. Stage 2, preening behavior. Preening behaviors will actively enhance your appearance by combing your hair, applying makeup, straightening your tie, pulling your socks, and double checking your appearance in the mirror. Right? Stage 3, positional cue. These behaviors involve using your posture and body orientation to ensure that you will be seen and noticed by others. Stage 4, appeals to invitation. Finally, more explicit efforts to express interest involve moving closer to someone, exposing skin, displaying an open body position, uncrossed arm and legs, and using direct eye contact to signal availability and interest. One researcher found 52 specific gestures and nonverbal behaviors that women use the signal on interest in men. Among the top of unspoken behavior that smiling, surveying a crowded room with the eyes, and moving closer to the person of interest. Subjects in another study report that both men and women were aware of using all of the specific techniques to promote an intimate relationship. We use these same nonverbal behaviors to express our interest in others even when we have no intention of developing a sexual relationship. People use these courtship behaviors to some extent in almost any situation in which they want to gain favorable attention from another. Albert Moravian identified the most common nonverbal cue used to communicate liking. In the U.S. population sample, these nonverbal cues include an open body and arm position, a forward lean, and relaxed posture. Another team of researchers focused on nonverbal behaviors that prompt people to label someone as warm and friendly or cold and distant. Another team of researchers focused on nonverbal behaviors that prompt people to label someone as warm and friendly or cold and distant. The team found that When people face their communication partners directly, smile more, make more direct eye contact. With that less, generally make fear unnecessary hand movement. Cold people make a less eye contact, smile less, listen more, turn away from their partners. Developing a paradigm to classify movement and gestures according to their function, Ekman and Friesen identified the 5 categories: emblems, illustrate, effect, display, regulators, and adapters. Emblems means non-verbal cues that have a specific, generally understood meaning in a given culture and may substitute for a word or phrase. Emblems are non-verbal cues that have a specific, generally understanding meaning in given culture and may actually substitute for a word or phrase. When you are busy typing a report that is due tomorrow, your young son bounced in to ask for permission to buy a new computer game. You turn to him and hold up an open palm to indicate your desire for uninterrupted quiet. You want your children to stop talking in the library. As you put an index finger up to the paused lips. Okay? That's emblems. Another thing is illustrator. Illustrator are nonverbal behavior that either contradict, accent, or complement a verbal message. Slamming a book closed while announcing, "I don't want to read this anymore," or pounding a lectern while proclaiming, "This point is important." The 2 examples of nonverbal behaviors that illustrate the verbal message. Typically, English speakers are nonverbal illustrator at the beginning of clauses or phrases. You know the TV newscaster sometimes either move or turn page to signal that they are moving to a new story or topic. You probably even use Illustrator when you talk on the phone, although probably not as many as you use in face-to-face conversation. You got it? Another affect displays. Nonverbal movement and posture used to communicate emotion and called affect displays. Facial expressions, verbal cue, posture, and gesture convey the intensity of your emotions. If you are happy, your face will telegraph your joy to others. The intensity of your hand movements, the openness of your posture, and the speed with which you move will tell others how happy you are. Similarly, if you feel depressed, your face will probably reveal your sadness or dejections. With your slumped shoulder and the lower head will indicate the intensity of your despair. When you are feeling friendly, you use a soft tone of a voice, an open smile, and a relaxed posture. When you feel neutral about an issue, you signal it by putting little or no expression on your face or in your voice. When you feel hostile, you use harsh voice, frown with your teeth showing, and keep your posture tense and rigid. Another thing's regulator. Non-verbal messages that help to control the interaction or flow of communication between two people. When you are eager to respond to message, you make eye contact, raise your eyebrows, open your mouth, raise an index finger, and lean forward slightly. In a class, you may raise your hand to overtly signal that you want to talk. When you do not want to be part of a conversation, you do the opposite. Okay? Avert your eyes, close your mouth, close your arms, and lean back in your seat or away from the verbal action in an attempt to stay out of the conversation. Another thing is adapters, non-verbal behaviors that satisfy personal need and help a person adapt or responded to the immediate situation. Adapters. Adapters are non-verbal behaviors that help you satisfy a personal need and adapt to the immediate situation. When you adjust your glasses, scratches, mosquito bite, or comb your hair, you use movement to help manage your personal needs and adapt your surroundings. And you are communicating something about yourself to whoever may be present. Frequent self-adapters, such as touching your cheek, may signal increased nervousness or self-consciousness. Understanding these five categories of nonverbal behavior and being aware of how you use them can give you a new or more precious way to think about your own behavior. Okay? It is good practice to aware of whether your nonverbal behavior contradicts or supports what you say. Monitoring your use of Illustrator can help you determine whether you are sending mixed signals to others. Be aware of your affect display. Knowing that your face and voice communicate emotion and that your posture and gestures indicate the intensity of your feelings can help you understand how others make inferences about your feelings and attitude. Okay? Since nonverbal cues are ambiguous, it may not be a good idea to rely on them solely to achieve a specific objective. But as you have seen, people are more likely to respond in predictable ways if you use behaviors they can recognize and interpret easily. Okay. You understand the category. Emblems, illustrator, affect display, regulator, adapters. Okay. Raising on hitchhiking down is emblems. Pound the lectern or emphasize a point, illustrator. Hugging someone to express love, affect displays. Looking at someone when you wish to speak, regulator. Scratching, combing your hair, adapters. Okay? So eye contact is so important. Eye contact, the cognitive function, monitoring function, regulatory function, expressive function. That's eye contact. There, when I you most likely to establish eye contact with another person, researchers have found that you are likely to make eye contact if you like or love the other person, are listening rather than talking, are discussing pleasant topics. Extrovert have a big need to be liked, are trying to dominate the conversation, are interested in what your partner may say or do, or have nothing else especially interesting to look at. Increase eye contact with a spouse is linked to increased satisfaction with the relationship. Okay? And then face expression, facial expression. The City Council of Palo Alto, California may well have the distinction of being the first legislative body to try to regulate the facial expression. They propose a code of conduct banning facial expression that show disagreement or disgust. Emotional emoticon and or emojis. Okay, so to interpret the partner's facial expression accurately, you need to put your other orientation skills to work, focusing on what the other person may be thinking or feeling. It helps if you know the person well, can see his or her whole face, have plenty of time to observe his or her facial expressions and understand the situation that prompts the emotion. There is also evidence that you can more accurately decode someone's facial and emotional expression if he or she comes from the same racial or ethical background as you do. Okay. Researcher conclude about the facial expression and people's interpretation of them. You can control some facial expression. You can control some facial expressions. According to Ackerman and Friesen, even though face provide a great deal of information about emotions, people can learn how to control facial expression, at least some of the time. Facial expressions are contagious. Facial expression contagious. Our researchers who showed his subject video clip of a President Reagan giving speeches discovered that the subject tended to smile, and Reagan smiled from when Reagan appeared angry or threatening. Facial expression are contagious. Okay? Another thing is smile is cross-cultural. Smiling is cross-cultural. Okay? That example, Japanese subjects were more likely to smile when they could see others smiling during interpersonal interactions. Another thing is there may be universal basis for interpreting facial expression. There may be a universal basis of interpreting facial expressions. Yeah. researchers have found that people from different cultures can accurately interpret the spontaneous facial expression of others. This lends support to the idea of a universal base for the way humans express and interpret the facial expression. Okay? Another things, complex facial expression are easier to interpret. Research suggests that people are better able to judge the accuracy of facial expressions when the expressions are more complex. The distinctiveness of a facial expression with a compound meaning may be what makes interpretation easier. It is also probable that people have a more practice interpreting facial expressions with a compound meaning than they do those that communicate a single emotion, such as sadness or happiness. Okay. Another case. It's likely you can spot a phony smile. It's likely you can spot a phony smile. Despite the complexity of some facial expressions, we seem to be able to determine whether someone is really happy or merely offering a funny smile. One research team found that a genius smile is more fleeting than a forced smile, which tend to last a bit too long. Last thing, do you express micro expressions? You express micro expressions. The opposite of complex facial expressions are what Ekman called micro expressions. Fleeting facial expression that may last only 0.05 of a second. Okay? Most of Ekman's test groups, including policemen and judgment, had difficulty detecting micro expressions. On the other hand, some Buddhists, whom Ekman calls gymnastic of the mind, were surprisingly sensitive to micro expressions. It's vocal cues. Our vocal cues communicate emotions. Okay. And our vocal cue is to provide clues about our relationships. So, your voice also provides information about your self-confidence and your knowledge of the subject matter in your message. Most of us would conclude that a speaker who mumbles, speaks slowly, consistently mispronounces words, and uses and is less credible and persuasive than one who speaks clearly, rapidly, and fluently. Okay, So, verbal cues help us manage conversations. So, you can check background back channel's cue. Okay, and you know back channel's cue means vocal cues that signal your wish to speak or stop speaking. Our use of silence speaks volumes. Okay? And space. In space, it's important. Imagine that you are sitting alone in a booth in your local pizza parlor as you see munching your crispy, thin crusted pepperoni pizza. You are startled when a complete stranger sit down in your booth directly across from you. Okay. The personal space 1.5 to 4 feet. Intimate space 0 to 1.5 feet. Very close, yeah. And the personal space and social space 4 to 12 feet, and public space 12 feet and beyond. You know that, right? Okay, you read that the proximate, intimate space, personal space, social space, okay, public space, territory. We know the territory. No. The high contact cultures, low contact culture. In a group, who is in charge, who's important, and who talks to whom, reflected by special arrangement people select. The more dominant group members tend to select seats at the head of the table, while shyer individuals often select a corner seat at a rectangular table. Territory. And touch. And terminal markers. Okay. Appearance. Now the touch. You read that. Yes. When we ask someone to do something for us, when you share rather than ask for information, when we try to persuade someone to do something, when we are talking about intimate topics, when we are in a social setting that we choose to be in rather than in professional setting that are part of our job, when we are thrilled and excited to share good news, when we listen to the travel or worried friend, okay? Appearance. Okay. Cultural gender difference in interpersonal nonverbal message relating to the diverse others. It's a difference, culture difference, gender difference, gestures, eye contact, facial expression, space, touch. It's different. Okay. Today, so far we learned the verbal message, non-verbal communication skills. Yeah. So next time, improving your skill in interpreting non-verbal message. Okay. So colors and notable dimensions of reading in non-verbal message. Okay. And other things that we're gonna learn, important thing, non-verbal skill, non-verbal communication skill. Okay. Okay, great. Thank you. Have a good day. Bye bye.